So first of all, a real quick intro. We have a whole lot to cover. Our goal here is to cover a lot of the recent changes that have come out. So I'll get into that. And Find My Company, we've been in business since 2006. We have an amazing team, as well as an amazing track record. You can find us on Facebook at Find My Company and also on Twitter at Find My Company. We have a great certified team, many certified experts, and let's get to the good stuff. If you could, please, I don't have the stereotypical cool Alamo Drafthouse will blow you away, Dirty Harry style. If you have your mobiles on, but if you could, please silence all your, I'll say smart devices, because there's iPads and iPhones and everything in between. So thank you. And you might like this. Picard sees your iPad. Picard is not impressed. Also, this is a cool little graphic. That was created from our design team. We put out a cool, unique graphic once a month, as well as a great new blog post on our blog. And so you can find our blog by just going to our website, and you'll see it there. So on the same thing with Star Trek. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about being an authority on the subject matter. Real quick, it's really interesting. A lot of you are here today for a lot of the recent updates and what you guys can do and walk away with today. There's a lot you can get started with as soon as you walk out. With that said, everybody has a lot of suggestions. Everybody has different tips. You name it. Whoever has provided you with the development and your family and everybody else. But what's really interesting is, especially with a lot of search engine marketing, a lot of websites out there are not doing very well themselves for their own site. So they say, we can help you out, but they're not actually showing up themselves. So this is really interesting. On 306th position, you'll find a website, I think that'd be the 31st page. It says, Austin WordPress SEO firm in Texas, tangible results. That sounds like something I would say. And but they're on the 31st page. Then on the 32nd page, it says if you want top placement, come to us, which is interesting. They're on the 32nd page. So if you have happened to Google Austin SEO, we are ranked first in Austin. So we are first ranked in for several other terms as well. Austin website marketing and many other things. So we like to lead by example. That's the whole point. Pay-per-click, we're also first on pay-per-click, and we'll talk about pay-per-click as well. So why we're here? We're here because of Google. And this is kind of an introduction to the internet. Show of hands, who knows what ARPANET is? Who's heard of ARPANET? A few of you? Okay. Well, that's how we. It's kind of how the internet started. It was a military project, 1969, and then 1984. I'm actually looking up a lot of here. 1991, the introduction of IPs came out, and as well as the naming convention, and then AOL in 1993. How many of you guys still have an AOL address? Please, no hands. Okay, two, sorry. All right, this is a really cool video. We're not going to get to watch it, so I'm going to talk about it. This is really funny. They were talking about predictions. My other goal today is to dispel a lot of the myths and to kind of have fun with showing the past and showing the future. Talking a lot more about all the changes that have happened. In one of the quotes in this video is what the wife selects on her console will be paid for by the husband at his counterpart console. A central banking computer will debit the family's account the amount of purchases while informing the family's home computer at the same time. So it's essentially the wife will buy dresses and do the grocery shopping from the console, and the husband will pay for it. So a lot of things have changed since then. High level, a lot of the things we'll talk about as far as our future predictions. Obviously, we did get to be ranked first on Google. So a lot of our predictions that our team made a year or two ago have been right on the money. And we feel that a lot of those same predictions are going to be correct in the next 5 years to come. And those are for relevancy, content, social signals, and human growth, meaning organic changes. So this is kind of a fun look at some of the search engine progression. We have 93, we have AOL, 94, we have Yahoo. How many of you use Yahoo? Yahoo! Wow, a third? That's amazing. Really? Okay. Well, about 60 to 70% of us use Google these days. InfoSeek in 94 and Lycos in 94. And with that said, I will bring up our topic of engaging email marketing. After that, I'll come back and I'm going to get into the details, and we'll have fun talking about what's going on behind the scenes.
My name is Julie Niehoff, and I work for a company called Constant Contact. Who here knows what Constant Contact is? Just like to know where the love is. So, you know. I really appreciate Find My Company inviting me to come today. My role at Constant Contact is education. I am not in sales. It's not my job to get you to leave here and use Constant Contact. Obviously, I would love it if you did. How many of you already use it? Just so I know. That's where the love is. Just want to know. Find My Company is going to talk to you today about being found. And what I'm going to talk to you today about, what I'm going to talk about today with you is what to do once they find you, what to have there to make sure you both hold their attention and bring them back, to drive decisions, meaning to drive purchases or sales, or if you happen to be a nonprofit, to drive volunteer hours or donations, and how to get them to come back and how to get them to bring friends. That's what engagement is. The word engagement could be substituted with the word participation. And it's really what drives social media. When we say social media, we don't just mean Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. What we're really talking about is participation, back and forth communication. So if you're on bestbuy.com and you leave a review of a television, and I happen onto bestbuy.com and read that review, and it informs in any way my decision about buying that TV or not buying that TV, then we have both participated, we have engaged in social media that was hosted by bestbuy.com. So don't get locked into thinking that social media and social interaction is just about Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. That said, obviously those tools are very big, very inexpensive, very easy to use, and you know, more than 500 million people are on Facebook, so it's a kind of a no-brainer to be there. But you have to be found, both on Facebook, and people need to be able to find your website on Google. I'm excited to hear what Find My Company is going to talk about today because of the changes that Google has made, and they will affect many of us in terms of how we're found and how we can manage and influence the ways that we're found. But my role, we're going to talk about email marketing, social media, and engagement. So getting people to come back after they've landed on your page. Here's my contact information. Please don't feel like you need to write it down. All of you will get one email that actually has this whole slide presentation in it. So you have not joined a big Constant Contact marketing list. You're not going to suddenly get phone calls or anything like that. But I do want you to be able to reach back to me if you have a question or if you want to talk to me for any other reason. I will tell you that on Facebook, facebook.com/CCTexas, that stands for Constant Contact Texas, a lot of small businesses and nonprofits are participating on that page. They're posting their offers, their deals, their newsletters, and I'm sharing them as much as I can, both on Facebook and on LinkedIn and on Twitter. So if you have something to share, post it on that page, and my team will share it with thousands of people across the state of Texas. And I am on Twitter. How many of you are on Twitter? Use Twitter? How many of you are on it right this second? Just going to point out it's IE. How many of you are small businesses? Any nonprofits in the room? Any small business start to raise your hand for the nonprofit question? Feel like a nonprofit this year? It's a tough year, I understand that. It was a tough year last year too. And how many of you in this room are using word of mouth, at least in part, for your marketing? Please everyone raise at least one hand, maybe a foot. It's a big deal. It's a really big deal. Word of mouth is key, especially in today's economy, because people are a little closed off. If you notice, it's harder to get them to give you a check or give you their credit card number or make the sale, close the deal. Sometimes it's even hard to get an appointment. So their calendar is closed, their mind is already closed to what it is you have to offer because people are holding tight to their money. They're a little bit nervous, they're a little bit scared. Word of mouth marketing, so referral marketing, so me telling my friend about you, so humans interacting and discussing you as a resource, is gold, especially in this time, because it opens the mind, it opens the pocketbook, it opens the calendar, it makes it possible for you to get in the door and do your thing and close the deal. And that's because people are more willing to listen to their friends than to advertising. 75% of American consumers are more willing to listen to a friend than to watch an ad on TV or read an ad in the newspaper or read an ad online and pay attention to that ad. Only 14% of us actually read advertisements and believe them. 75% of us are more willing to believe our friends. So word of mouth is key. Engagement, so driving people to your site is important. Getting them to stay there, driving them to tell others about you, that is golden. Engagement is referral marketing on steroids. Engagement makes it possible. So the reason that I say that word of mouth is important and golden is because of what's called a share button. On Facebook, you already see it. When you post something on Facebook, you see the word share underneath it and people can share what you've said on their own Facebook page. In email, that is now made possible using a tool like this. I'm going to blow it up a little bit bigger. Do I have it bigger? There it is. And any reputable email marketing service, not just Constant Contact, but any of them, will give you a tool that allows people to share your messages. Email is still the most intimate communication you're going to have with a customer or a potential customer. How many of you have checked your email today? Checking it right now, even on your phones, right? We've all checked our email today. We haven't all been on Twitter today, we haven't all been on Facebook today, and we certainly aren't using those other tools at the frequency that we use email. Email is still where you reach people. It absolutely is, and email is where people are more likely to read your message and care, because they've given you their email address, and share it, using the share bar, sharing it out on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. So if you start to use email and Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter and encourage shares and forwards, then you are doing word of mouth marketing on steroids. You are multiplying the results of that quickly. And because of technology changing, you can track it now. So I can't say to you that social media is no longer trackable. It's not hard to find the ROI. It's actually much easier now than it used to be. 75% of people in America are sharing things that they like and liking things that they've shared on Facebook at least weekly. 75%. And you know that you found people in your life, in your circle, who already share more than that. They share on a very frequent level. If people are sharing, they're sharing a lot. If they're passionate about what they care about, they're sharing a lot. If they're all about their kids, they're sharing their kids' pictures a lot. If they're all about their work, they're sharing things about their work. If they like what you do for them in their personal space or their professional space, they are sharing that. They are amplifying your message for you, and those are the people that you should be paying attention to and giving more to. So let's look at this triangle. This is a representation of traditional marketing methods. It's standard sales numbers game. It is about reaching to strangers, and all of your time and your money and your energy go into building the funnel. We've all talked about the funnel. Increase the funnel. Anyone who's ever had a sales job knows you just keep trying to call more people, because a certain percentage will say yes. You reach as many people as you can, a certain percentage say yes. At the end of that marketing day, you don't have a lot of time or money or energy left to fill the funnel anymore, and you certainly can't go back and tell people, did you get what you wanted, and bring them back into the fold. It's difficult to engage when you are following traditional marketing methods. That doesn't mean I'm here to tell you not to do direct mail. It doesn't mean that I don't want you to do the advertising, traditional advertising that you've always done, especially if it's working for you. But I do think that it's important that you begin to integrate engagement marketing along with your traditional methods. Engagement marketing looks more like this. And it is not about strangers. Traditional marketing is about prospecting, reaching to as many people as you can. And we all understand that standard sales numbers game. Reach more people, a certain percentage will say yes, but if you're reaching more people are saying yes. I completely understand that method. But I want you to start considering adding engagement marketing. Engagement marketing is where you're not reaching to strangers, you're reaching to people who already know you. They've already done business with you, they already respect you, they recognize you when they get your message, whether it's on Facebook or LinkedIn or Twitter, or they get an email from you. They know who you are, they immediately respond as a human in a relationship with you for business, And as a result, if you are sending relevant, valuable information and access on a regular level, on a regular cycle, then they will pick up the flag and carry it for you. They will share your message if you ask them to. They will forward it to hot leads that are through referral marketing, so they're even warmer than a cold lead. When you look at traditional marketing, I think of the Super Bowl commercial. That's what I call it, the Super Bowl commercial model. Because if you could afford a Super Bowl commercial, wouldn't you buy one? And you would reach as many people as you can, and a certain percentage will say yes, and it's a great day for your business. At the end of that marketing day, you have very little time, money, and energy left to re-engage and make sure you can really take care of those people and bring them back. On engagement marketing, when you're not spending a lot of time, you're not spending a lot of money or energy, you're reaching to people who already know you through Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and using email. When you do that, and you make it easy and obvious for them to share or forward your message, then you actually begin to convert more people than you're reaching to. We call this flipping the funnel. You can flip the funnel if you're doing it well. And the bonus is at the end of that day, you have so much time, money, and energy left that you can go back and actually nurture the relationship in an authentic, genuine way between two people where you can manage those relationships and grow the business or the organization if you happen to be a nonprofit by using this method. And email, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter are very inexpensive, easy ways to manage engagement marketing that don't have to take away from your traditional methods at all. So you can continue to do what you do that you know works and start to pepper in engagement. And when I say it's about flipping the funnel, the key here is that if you can bring an existing customer back, they are likely to spend 67% more than a brand new customer. That is a standard average for American consumers. They will spend 67% more as a repeat customer than as a new customer because they already know you. They already know your products. They already know your services. So there is no, who are you, what do you do, I don't know. It's more about what else can you do for me, what else can I get from you, and who else can I tell about you, which is a great combination for any small businesses trying to grow. What we're really talking about is also called megaphone marketing, where you are getting your customers to pick up the megaphone for you. And the focus is on those people, but more importantly, your focus when you're writing messages to these people or posting things for them is to think about who is on their list. You have to reach past your own list. Come on. Reach past your own list and reach out to the people that are on their list. This is not working. Meaning, you can think about the people on your list and who is in their sphere of influence. Everyone in this room has a sphere of influence. You have one in your personal life and you have one in your professional life. For me, mine is ice hockey. Random. I know it has nothing to do with whether I know how to use Twitter. But I am a hockey mom. My son plays ice hockey. My husband is a hockey coach. He is an off-ice official for the AHL. I'm in a lot of hockey rinks. I own a lot of sweaters. And when I send a message to my friends through hockey, so the other 17 moms on my son's hockey team, that is part of my sphere of influence. And there's a store called Perennies that sends me deals for hockey skates. We all have teenage boys in skates. It's hard to keep a teenage boy in skates. They grow fast and skates are expensive. So when Perennies sends me a deal, I forward it to my 17 other moms on the hockey team. Perennies is paying attention and they know that I forward it. I don't always buy every time they send me, but I always forward it. And they send me the better deals. Those 17 moms have all joined the list. They get an email at the same time that I get it, but I'm getting the better deal. Because Perennies is paying attention and they have figured out that I am carrying the flag for them. I forward it immediately and they know it and they send me the better deal so that I'm more incentivized to keep sharing. They are nurturing the relationship with me, and that is something very simple that you can be doing. Everything that you do for marketing should be tracked so that you know who to nurture and who to pay attention to. So look at this email. You don't have to be able to read it. I'm just going to explain it to you. I used to use this email 6 years ago to teach people not to put everyone in the two line. See how everyone's in the two line there? And I know that you guys know better. I love Austin. I live here, and I didn't ever have to teach that lesson in Austin, by the way. But I know you've all found blind copy. That's not the point of this. When you look at this email, it looks like every other email that you get. It is the U.S. Tennis Association's newsletter. It's real. It's from September of 2006. And it's a standard typical newsletter from 2006. Obviously, you've all seen more beautiful newsletters. Here's the next month using a service. Now the service they used happens to be Constant Contact because that's what I have access to, but any service can give you, any email marketing service can give you graphic emails that have colors and pictures and links and tracking. The key here is that it took them no more time to build this. It has colors. You're responding to the color red whether you like it or not. It's got a graphic that is also in a direct mail piece, that graphic with the little circle in it. That's direct from a direct mail piece. So they are getting more out of that. If you're going to do direct mail or print advertising of any kind, you should be integrating the exact same graphics in your online marketing so that you'll get more out of it. Because if it lands in your mailbox, in my mailbox, and I've seen it on your website, I'm more likely to respond. I'm more likely to recognize that it means something to me and pull it out of a stack of junk mail. So the point here is that this took about the same amount of time to build, goes through a service, but the fact that it has colors and pictures and links is not what is making it marketing. That is not. That makes it feel good. That makes it look pretty. But the part that makes it marketing is that it is tracked. When you send mass email through a service, everything is tracked. Many of you know this, but for those that don't, when you send a mass email through a service like a Constant Contact or any legitimate company that does mass email, it will tell you who opened it, when they opened it, what time they opened it, what time of day they opened it, how many times they opened it, what they clicked on, when they clicked on that, how many times they clicked on it. Did they forward it? How many people did they forward it to? Does not tell you who they forwarded it to. That's against privacy law. That would take me longer than 30 minutes to explain to you. But it does tell you that they forwarded it. It tells you how many people shared it out on Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter. It tells you everything so that you know as a marketer, as a business person, whether it worked or not, and what in it worked and what didn't. And that is when you begin to market. When I say the word marketing, I mean something very, very specific. And if I gave you all a piece of paper and had you write your definition of marketing down, you'd all write something almost exactly the same, not exactly, and you would write something that's legitimate in terms of what marketing is. I know you're all grown-ups and you know what marketing is, but there is one little piece that if you don't have it, you're not technically marketing. When I say marketing, I mean that you define an audience, you reach out to that audience with a message that is specific to that group of people, and you elicit from those people a physical, measurable response. Find an audience and reach out to them, you are communicating, and it's helpful, but it's not going to grow your business. When you begin to measure and track the physical, measurable responses that you get, now you're marketing. Because from that, you can say, this worked, do more of that. This didn't work so well, stop doing that. And you remove emotion from those decisions, and you work with real data. Real data that says, we know this worked. And when you are looking at an email like this and you send it, you can say, well, 60% of people clicked the first link, nobody clicked the second link, and 30% clicked the last link. The most valuable piece of information in that little scenario is that nobody clicked the second link. That information does not drive your sales, but it definitely drives your marketing. Because if no one clicks it over and over and over and you keep offering it, stop writing about that. Stop offering it. The people on your list do not care. And you can remove the emotion from that, or repackage it, reword it, put it somewhere else, and see if they realize that they care. Now you're truly marketing. And when you want to do email marketing and Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter and apply that kind of true marketing science to it, that shouldn't be costing you more than $15, $30 a month. That should not cost hundreds or $1,000s a month. Tools like this are $15 to $30 a month to get that kind of intel so that you know what's working and you can focus on what's working and do more of it. Especially when you find what do people share, what do people forward, and what do people care about enough to tell their friends. When you start doing that, your business will grow. To the point that we actually guarantee it as a company. Constant Contact guarantees that if you use our tools and apply those methods, that if you don't see the growth that you expect, we give you your money back. I mean, we know it works. We absolutely know it works. So look at these three words: now, later, or never. Your business life is actually ruled by these three words. You just aren't aware of it or not conscious of it. Think about this morning when you opened your email for the first time. You opened up the email and you started going down the list of emails, and you were automatically, subconsciously searching, subcategorizing things as now, later, or never. And you may not have been conscious of it. Now you will be for the next about 48 hours, so I apologize. You'll be cursing my name for a little while. Because when you open your email now, you're going to be like, now, later, never, damn it, that woman. But it's just going to happen.
But you have to know this, not as a recipient, but as a sender, because you want to be now. You don't want to be later, because what is later? Later is good intentions, but they don't get back to you. Okay? Later is good intentions. Never, obviously, is a losing proposition for you. You want to be now. And if you are a nonprofit, those of you that raised your hand as a nonprofit in the room, you are starting at later. And it's not that people don't care about what you have to say, it's that usually they're getting your message while their focus, their priorities are at work. And so they have to pull away from what is winning the battle of priorities to pay attention to you. So their good intentions you can hold on to, but you may want to play with different timings in terms of when you send, so that you will know whether you can beat the now, later, and never again. So how do you become now? The first and most important piece is the from line. This is the easiest part of the whole message to write. And this is true whether you're on an email or on Facebook or LinkedIn or Twitter. Whoever posts it is the most important piece of the entire thing, because that is where now or later start to separate from never. They aren't going to stop if they don't recognize you. Think about when you opened your email this morning. You opened and you went down the list and you stop at people that you know. You don't stop at Pizza Hut. You don't stop at Papa John's. That's a business. You're assuming already that's marketing. That's not a personal message to you. When you see a brand, even if you love the brand, you are not stopping, because it's not going to win the battle of priorities. Your messages need to come from a person. They can still piggyback off of the brand name. When I send from Constant Contact, I send as Julie Niehoff, Constant Contact, so people that don't know me can see that it's Constant Contact and at least recognize, oh, I'm a customer, I should at least pay attention to that. But you need a person in that list, because people stop at people much faster, and you will at least eliminate the never, because they'll stop and make a decision at that point. And then the second most important piece is your subject line, or if it's on Facebook, your headline, or if it's on Twitter, it's your tweet. And that is the make or break moment between now or later. So on your name is where they're stopping and deciding now or later, or you're never and you've lost. But at the point where you get to the subject line, you need them to decide at that moment to open your message, read it, or read the tweet and react. Because from there, if you've won, you still at most have 2 minutes with that person. And that's if you're really, really good. 2 minutes is not enough to drive a lot of action if you've given me too many things to do. So you have to write your subject line or your headline for Facebook or your tweet using what's called the 2-2-2 principle. Think of it this way, you have 2 seconds. They really only read the first 2 words before they make a decision to read the rest or not. It's not a decision of whether you're never, but it's a decision of whether they bother to read the whole subject line. And you need to answer the question, why does this message or this post or this email matter today? That's the third 2. 2 seconds, the first 2 words matter the most. Why does this message matter today? And if you don't have a why, go back and reevaluate, because you will not win the now, later, or never battle if you don't have a why. They need to have a why today. Why does this win the battle of priorities today? So, what do you write about? You fill in starter content. When you get these slides, I'll send you a long list of ideas for starter content, because you don't want people landing on your Facebook page or on your blog or on your website and it just says Julie joined Facebook in 1993 or whenever it started, AOL in 1993. You write about what you know that they don't know. You hear that all the time, right? What you know, but you're not writing about your products or your services. You're writing about what you know from your experience using those products and services, or what informed you to choose those products or services based on what you know. Give away the farm. Tell them how to do what you do, and you can't be afraid of that. You can't be afraid that you're going to tell them too much. And you give access to what you have access to. You have more access than you think. Early access, special deals and offers, autographs, whatever you can come up with. It doesn't have to cost money. It doesn't have to have a dollar figure. But if you give it away to special people who are already sharing your message and make it special, people will start to share your message. These are 3 things I want you to try. Just choose one. Go home and try one of these that makes sense for you. One is set one objective at a time. Stop sending messages that have 3 or 4 options, because you don't have time to drive a decision in 2 minutes if you give 3 or 4 options. Give one option and see if it works. And a no is not bad news. A no tells you not to send that person that information anymore. It helps you sort things. Give people something special. I said this a second ago. Give special access, special treatment, special opportunities to people who are sharing your message, and they will continue to share your message. And leverage the fact that you are human. When you add engagement marketing to your mix of marketing, you are really adding additional screen interactions, right? But that's just a screen. It's up to you as the sender or as the poster on Facebook to come through the screen as a person, to be real. So when you send a newsletter or when you're going to post on Facebook, every once in a while, not every time, include something personal. If it's an email, just on the sidebar. If it's a tweet, once a month, send something that's, by the way, I play the banjo, I'm in a band and we're playing at the Bluebonnet Festival, you probably don't know that. Something small, something that pulls back the curtain a little, shows who you are. You will be surprised at the response you get and at the relationship building that happens that will grow your business. If it feels weird to you, don't do it, because if it's not genuine, it will come off as not genuine and then it won't work, it'll fall flat. But find something that's interesting. Your staff is going to create a team and do the Relay for Life. Share that. That's important. It matters to you. Why does it matter to you? Share that. It's not oversharing. We're not getting too personal, but pull back the curtains a little bit and let people see who you are. And I will prove to you that it works. This is my baby. I had a baby a couple of years ago, and I left for maternity. I came back and sent out a picture of the baby to about 30,000 people, along with my schedule. It wasn't the whole message, but it was the sidebar. And I got 2 emails from people who did not like that I included a picture of the baby, which is totally fine, totally understandable. They felt it was too personal, that's fine. I got 13,000 emails from people saying, love your baby picture, she's so cute, here's my baby, here's my daughter playing soccer. One man sent me a picture of his pig, which you've already seen. And I keep this framed on my desk to remind me to pull back the curtains every once in a while and be myself. Because those 2 people, they're actually still in my list. They're still great customers. I have a great relationship with them because they were so forthcoming in telling me that they didn't like that. They never get personal information from me. I keep them in a separate list. But the 13,000 people all got an email back, each of them. Thank you so much for sharing. Very personal, individual email saying thank you. When you do this, it works and you have to be ready to respond. Now, I have a 14-year-old who found out the baby was in my slide, so I had to add him. Some of you know this. Peeved, and actually he just turned 15 yesterday. So I have a just 3-year-old, a 15-year-old, and my 22-year-old was also peeved because she heard that her 14-year-old brother was in. So that's my 22-year-old. Just take that in for a second. I actually have a 3-year-old, 15-year-old, and a 22-year-old. They do all have the same dad. I'll answer your next question because I know you're all wondering. And I do this because if you saw me at the mall tomorrow, this is what you would picture. This is pulling the curtain back. You can't fake it. People know it if you're faking it. You know that this is me. And this is a real connection that we have. Now, you don't have to have a baby to do this, and this is too much for an email or on Facebook. This is for a big room full of people. But find a way to be who you really are. Use your own voice and do it, and you will be surprised at the response. That is the end of my time. I'm going to sit down and learn all the changes in Google. I'm really excited about it. And I really appreciate all of you taking so much time out of a busy day to come here and have lunch with us and learn a little bit more about how to grow your business. I will be here for the rest of the time, so if you have a question for me, come find me, and I'll wait until way after we're done to make sure I've been able to answer any questions you have.
This is interesting. The Beatles walking across the street, they actually, that's the Google Street View that they snapped when they were walking across the street. And if you believe that, then you're probably younger than 20. And I don't think that's anybody in this room. All right, so question. What year was this picture taken? Just yell it out.
68.
So close.
69.
Yes, 69. Okay, then we'll take care of you too. We will. And up in the, raise your hand.
Raise your hand up there.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. And what search engine was being used that year? Shout it out. Yellow Pages, I love it. I wanted to say it, but I didn't. ARPANET, yes. Not exactly a search engine, but that's what I was looking for. It was ARPANET. Raise your hand. ARPANET. And lastly, what was the first message that was sent over that network? If you get that, you're a geek. I really don't expect you to. So with that said, I'll answer that question, but if you have a sticker on the bottom of your mug, There's 3 of them. We'll give away some more gift cards. Some more cash cards. Raise your hand if you do. There should be 3. Give away a few cash cards.
Looking for my Argonauts too. Can you put your
Okay.
hands up?
We have a hand. Another. So it's actually, for ARPANET, it was actually when they were first booting up the system. They were trying to log in, so it was a login command, followed by a slash, followed by O. The system crashed. So what was actually delivered was LO. And so today we have LOL. So nothing's really changed, right? So that was it. Oh, and one more. Let's do a business card drawing. And let's see, let's get a business card here. Okay. So, Donovan Davis, design architect, here in Austin, with Dans and Davis Architects. I see a hand right there? Okay, perfect. Oh, and I just thought this picture was kind of cool too. That's a real picture. That's actually them getting ready before they walked across the street for the picture, which they used on their album. Okay, so this is kind of cool, an infographic here. What all happens in 60 seconds on average? 60 seconds on average, we have 168 million emails, but Julie hopefully helped with improving the way you email. 70 plus domain registrations, 600 plus new YouTube videos every minute are uploaded. So who cares? Everybody's doing the same thing. I mean, really. So we're going to talk about everything. We're going to talk about SEO and what you can do to stand out. Because really, this is just noise. It's just all the noise on the internet. Everybody's doing the same thing. Many things have changed, especially this year. Everybody is continuing to do a lot of the same things. So next, we'll take a look at the steps of what to do differently. As far as who's searching, I'm just going to typically I say Google, because it is 60-70% of folks using Google. What's more interesting than that is the smartphones. Majority of folks that are searching for something local are now actually using their iPhones or their pads. So everything we do, we're also really thinking about whether or not it's optimized for mobile or pads. In fact, we see it in the analytics. It's there. The data's there. So if you're not optimized for iPad and mobile, and to see if it's converting, then something we need to look into. Okay, so this is really interesting. It's just showing a lot of the marketing allocation, how much it's changed. The reason this is interesting and kind of why it's relevant is because it means there's more competition. So different than 2 years ago, a lot of the things that we may have been changing on your site, updating, worked, and now you may be finding out otherwise. Why didn't this work? And why did my rankings seem to change? And that's because there are a lot more folks that have gravitated towards search engine marketing. So really broad, what's the definition of SEO? And Google's actually okay with SEO. They do like SEO. It's the process of improving the visibility of a website or a web page in search engines via the natural or unpaid search results. Okay, so let's get started. Let's hop right into it. Recent changes. Real quick, let's take just a quick step back. What changed in 2011? How many of you noticed your rankings changed last year? Okay. How many of you didn't know why? Had no idea. Kind of changed quite a bit. Okay. One of the most significant things that's changed last year was localization. Localization is just a fancy word meaning there's a lot of signals which determine the authority of your website. So for example, Google has to have these signals to cut down on all the spammy online-only sites that are not really an authority on the subject matter. So that's localization. We'll talk more about that. Google Places. How many of you have your Google Places set up? Should be everyone. Because if you don't, you are not being looked at as an authority. Right now by Google, you're just being looked at as another spammy site. It's a small piece of the pie, but if you don't have that piece of the pie, your results aren't going to fare too well. Rewarding authority, local, social, those signals kind of got turned on, but more so lately. Caffeine instant preview. In an ongoing effort, SEO wants to improve the results, improve your experience. So in order to do that, you have auto suggest. When earlier today, when you say, when you Googled Austin Alamo Google event, it probably said, "Do you mean Avengers?" And then lastly, by Yahoo. There was a merger there. Obviously, Yahoo.com is still there, but on the back end, it's using the same engine. All right, what are the changes that have happened? In the last 2-3 months, how many of you have noticed a lot of changes with your positions? A few of you. I don't believe that. How many of you have checked? Okay. Penguins and pandas and bears, oh my, aren't really any bears, but there's a lot of nicknames and codes for all these algorithmic and even manual updates. So it's not all algorithm based. There's actually even manual updates where there is a team of folks at Google that will actually check your Google Places and things like that once in a while to see if it's spammy. If some of you have also noticed that your reviews have disappeared. Okay? So let's start back in January. In summary, there have been more updates in the last 2-3 months than there have been in the last 4 years combined. How many of you guys knew that? Okay? And what's really interesting is for the first time ever, Google has actually published a lot of this info. Because a lot of folks were complaining in the past year or so, why don't you tell us what it is? It's pretty obvious to us because we have a lot of data to go off of, and it's pretty obvious when there is a significant change and the weight of something changes. So now, though, Google is actually giving out some of that information. So starting in January, they call it the 30-pack. There was a 30-pack of micro updates that came out, which influences the weight of different factors for your site. How many of you had heard that? No one. Really? Oh, okay, cool. So they called it the 30-pack. What that was is it placed more emphasis towards localization. So in other words, again, it wants to serve better results and more local results. More local results benefits you, the business, the small businesses, and that's great. Plus one, you guys see that annoying plus one? Well, what's really funny is when it came out, the day it came out, the team and I knew this is a signal. Because everything that Google comes out with, you better pay attention. Every single one of those is a factor. It's a signal. So even if you don't have a whole lot of plus ones, and it does look goofy and silly if you have it at the top of your site, and you have no followers, you have no, on your Twitter account and on your Facebook account, you have no likes. On your plus one, it's only showing one. But put it at the bottom of your site on the footer, because that's a signal. It's one of 200 factors, but it still is. So you really have to play the game. Faster mobile browsing. A lot of things have improved with mobile browsing, and it is going to look for certain things on your website as well to see if it's mobile optimized. Next in February, this one shook things up quite a bit. I think it actually affected around 13% of all search queries out there. That's pretty huge. Image and video improvement. What that means is you can also link videos to your site. And if you have none compared to some, it is a very important factor because it's also continuing to increase the authority to your site. So there's all these factors that just add up that says I'm a real person or I'm a team. Not so much I'm an individual, but I'm more than one person. So you need to look for all these signals. You need to have, upload videos and so forth. Images. How many of you, when you're putting together a presentation or something, you're Google searching now everything, or just for fun, looking at all the images? What's funny is that factor has really increased. It used to be a non-factor, but now the more pictures you have out there, they're hyperlinked. And when I say hyperlinked, it means that physically you add a link back to the URL of your website. And I'll get more into that because that's called a backlink. Venice Local. Venice was a code name for more local updates. So again, localization. Every single one of these updates, are you beginning to notice the trend? On every single one of these, it's nothing that significantly new. What it is that the weight placed towards all these factors, such as localization and freshness of content and things like that, is only continuing to improve, is only continuing to increase. So you've got to play the game. Link evaluations. How many of you know what a backlink is? Okay, I'm just going to explain it now. How many of you, for SEO, think that backlinks are the most important factor? None of you. Okay. So I like asking this question a lot too. Why did Google take over? Shout it out.
PageRank.
PageRank? Okay, PageRank. Any more? Any more shout outs? Backlinks, okay. Well, a lot of it revolved around user experience. So I remember, it's funny, I remember it like it was yesterday. That's back in the days when I built up IT departments and worked in corporate. And somebody, I had it shown to me, hey, check out this plain white screen. It's called Google, and if you click on Get Lucky, you might get lucky. And I saw it, and I said, man, that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen in my life. It looks boring, and I'm not going to use it. But people started gravitating towards it because the results were better. Remember, you were used to going to the second and third page? Suddenly, Google usually served what you were looking for on the first page. The reason it did that is because it came up with a way to evaluate popularity. Popularity is evaluated by how many other sites out there physically link back to you. Because that's something that's really difficult to automate. You can't brute force it. If you use software, you'll get penalized. So it's quantitative, it's quality, and quantity. So Google looks out there physically for this URL that has to be associated to a keyword. And the more you have out there, the better. So that's why Google was able to knock all these spammy sites off the first page that were repeating the same keyword 100 times. Okay? So even today, a lot of your competitors, they're all using the same keywords you have on your website by now. Okay? So as far as how much influence that has, it's still about 40 to 50% of the game is backlinks. If anybody tells you otherwise, they may not be very familiar with all the factors. Okay? So March 50 pack, social indexing, social signals. We don't talk much about tweeting or liking or anything like that. We are not a social media company, but you need those signals. It is so important that we even include it in our SEO process, because if you don't have those signals, then you're losing authority. With the March 50 pack, those signals became more important. It wants to know that you're a real person. Another interesting one on that is it's codename, I think, Prof2. And another way it determines that you're a real person, that you have authority, is to look for profiles out there that are linked back to your website. So think about all the profile sites out there, LinkedIn and so forth. Those weren't even a factor last year. Now they are. It's called Prof2. It actually looks for 200 really popular profile and social directories out there that has your bio and company information filled out, that hyperlink, physically link back to your website. So the March 50 pack, more of everything we just talked about. Stagnation, content stagnation. How many of you have updated the content on your homepage within the last 4 months? That's really good. Half of you. So now the frequency is continuing to increase more and more and more, which means if you've actually noticed a big shuffle in your rankings, it may be due to content. So think about when the last time was that you updated your homepage content and actually the other subpages. So about a year or so ago, it used to be just checking to see when the last time was you updated your homepage content. Okay? Because the front end has to match the back end. So that's you have to evolve. So it's called we call it content stagnation. Well, now it seems like there is more competition and everybody's just using those same keywords. So it seems like the frequency of needing to update the content has increased to 3 to 4, once every 3 to 4 months. Now that doesn't necessarily mean, reinventing the wheel and rewriting every single letter, but you do need to freshen it up. And in fact, they actually call a lot of these updates, freshness updates, and that's why. So think about your subpages too. You have to have somebody updating the content of your site. Blogs, +1, mobile, tablet results, the Panda updates. The Panda updates, last year there was a lot of hype about this. Oh, the Panda updates, and it's affecting me. No, it didn't. Not really. The very first update that came out, it mostly affected a lot of the big boys like About.com and so forth. And those are because those are content farms. They're making all the revenue by just spitting out lots of content, lots of information. But Google decided, hey, I'm going to improve your user experience once again. And if you search for heart surgeon, I'm more likely to serve a local heart surgeon's website than About.com. Since then, let's talk about the last month. 2 months before that, many more Panda updates. There have actually been about 10 major version updates now to Panda. With that said, the biggest part of that is freshness. So now, since there's some more competition, how often have your subpages been updated with content? Not just that, on the back end, the coding of it. When was the last time the code of your website and your menu and everything else was optimized? Lastly, the Penguin update. This was actually caused a big shuffle in results a week ago. And again, the Penguin is another big project to improve the search results. It mainly consisted of, again, spammy content. And let's see here. So lastly, how many of you noticed any rankings change a week ago? Some of you in your site? Okay. All right, so one of my favorite things to do is dispel a lot of the common myths that are out there. This is going to help a lot. And then we'll dive into more of an action plan and a lot of the things you can do to your site. So the too good to be true strategy. I love these. And again, think about, I'd mentioned the prevalence of information coming from sort of non-SEO sources and sites that are also not showing up on Google even. And one of those is the too good to be true strategy. If you hear that something is easy, it's likely too good to be true. On average, how many times does Google visit your website? Is there an average? There is. About once a month. That's the average. Depending on PageRank, it's actually PageRank can sort of give you an idea of how often you're being crawled and cached as well. So if you're, for example, PageRank 3, 4, you're being evaluated much more often, maybe once a week. And if you have a blog and everything else going on, you could possibly be visited every other day. But mostly, if you haven't had a complete SEO process before, backlink development, etc., localization, you may be, at this time, you may be a page rank of 0 or 1, and in that case, your site's only being visited, on average, probably once a month. The let your buddy do it approach. This really doesn't work anymore because there is absolutely no wiggle room anymore for anything spammy. Done. At this point, we're pretty much at 100% quality control with Google. So you can no longer, keyword stuff. You can no longer put a lot of same key phrase, anchor text in your website, etc., etc., etc. So there are no loopholes. Slapping some keywords on your site. This really does nothing at this point, unless you're doing just something so rare and you're selling pink polka dotted widgets and there's absolutely zero competition for it, in which case you may do well. But if you have competition out there and you have more than, say, 50 competitors or 1,000 in your space, then it's going to take a whole lot more than slapping the same keywords on your website that everybody else has. Outside factors, those are the backlinks. Not only has that's remained very much the same, but the evaluation of backlinks has changed. And a couple of those updates I already talked about actually evaluate the organicness, that's not a word, or the how natural that link is. So that's one thing it cracked down on. Links are just as important, but what Google recently cracked down on in the last month or two is how spammy they are. So if you're trying really hard to place same links, gunning for the same few key phrases, you're no longer going to have results. Next is authority, social, and links. Here's something to walk away with. For authority, there's actually about 20 signals right now that will help establish your authority for localization. And the biggest one is, of course, Google Places. But there's a whole lot more. One of the other things Google checks is to see if you have a physical address on your homepage and to see if it's formatted a certain way. You may have heard of HCard. But what's really interesting about that, I like that update, it's a great update, is because that's another way for it to evaluate how human you are. And not just that, how big you are. If you have more than one physical location, it's actually another helpful signal. So you need to approach that again in a natural way, not use P.O. boxes and things like that. But if you do have another physical location, you actually want to include that on your website as well. It will help you. Other things include there's root files. There's actually physically on the behind the scenes on the back end, there's some files you don't see, geomap files, things like that, that we place physically on the site. And again, that helps increase the chances that you will show up for a local search. Okay. And one of the things we're actually doing too is we have cards that we printed out. And those have some additional secrets. I'm just not going to have enough time to cover all of those, but it's a little more detailed. Even includes some pieces of code. And we have several account managers here that have those cards. So if you'd like, you can fill out one of the cards to evaluate your site. And in exchange for that, we'll actually give you a lot of these snippets of information that's going to help you guys create some of these signals. I'm not going to go over it here because it's kind of geeky. It's coding and so forth. So it's some great information. Not enough PPC spend. How many of you are doing pay-per-click advertising? Okay. And depending on your results, the most common thing we see with pay-per-click spend is just not spending enough money. Because you have to get over the hump. Here's what's interesting. I mean, if you did not already know this, greater than 90% of Google's revenue comes from pay-per-click advertising. And most other 100 products Google has, it may not financially benefit from those. So part of the grade for quality is actually influenced by also how much you spend, how many click-throughs you have, and how many impressions you're getting. So it really has to be looked at. All of us, many of you, probably everybody has gotten that free $100 gift card in the mail. You can definitely just turn on a pay-per-click account and get going with it. But $100 or $500 is a lot to lose if it hasn't generated enough clicks to actually produce a conversion. And missing a complete SEM strategy. I'll talk a little bit more about that, but essentially it's the culmination of all of these things linking together, and that you used to be fine without having your social accounts set up, your profile accounts set up, and your Google Places and everything else. Now you have to play the game if you want to be on the first page anyway. Slapping up a Facebook page. It's okay if you do just slap up a Facebook page, but what we want to do, we want to make sure it's done correctly. So in the settings of Facebook and Twitter and other profiles, there's actually a field for a URL in which you can link that physically back to your website. That tells the search engines, hey, this social account belongs to me. It's associated to my website. Without doing that, just have another Facebook account floating out there. All right, Peggy. You guys remember that guy from I think it's a Discover card commercial? Peggy. SEO companies don't cold call. Unfortunately, it's one of the things that happens as a natural outcome is of becoming more visible, is that you start getting some phone calls. And the reason for that is you can't really live without being included in local directories anymore and social profiles and things like that. Well, very unfortunately, the nature of the business is a lot of these local directories and business directories, which are very important for you to be on, they use those for cold calling lists. So expect more calls the more visible you become. Rank first for what? Most often when you're getting, when you may be hearing information that you can rank quickly. Now you know that if anyone's ever told you can rank maybe on the first page within a month or so, it's not the case, it's not true. Secondly, you really want to qualify that and say, well, what are you going to rank me for? Most likely if you're getting a call, it's not really SEO. They may be leveraging maps or something like that to want to show you how you can show up for something on the first page that's very obscure. Some very strange key phrase that has zero search volume and would never help you out. And then, I made a comment in there, well, you miss $50 to $350. That seems to be the magic number that most folks don't realize it's missing without results until about 6 to 12 months later. And that adds up. That's a lot of money. So again, if it's too good to be true, it is. Think about how many man hours are built into $50 to $350. There's no such thing for good results for some service that costs $50. First page rankings, spam email, and unfortunately that too, expect more spam email. Oh, your website's doing horrible. How many of you guys have gotten that email? Your website sucks. We get those emails. And I think we're doing all right. And we're ranked first. So we get those on average about once or twice a week. Your website sucks. Do you want to find out how you can get more business? I've always been so tempted to reply back, yes, please do an evaluation on my website. I can't wait. So expect more of that the more visible you are. And missing a complete SEM strategy, that was mentioned on the left-hand side. Pay for performance. I do want to mention this. How many of you maybe have heard of pay for performance services? None of you. That's good. One of you. It's pretty rare. And the interesting thing about that is, on average, about 90 to 95% of all the traffic from our clients comes from some variation of the key phrases we're gunning for. So what does that mean? If we run our software and we look at how many first page rankings one of our clients has for every variation possible of the key phrases, we'll probably have about 300 to 400 key phrases on the first page that we can come up with. And that's just for Google. So if you do the math, and let's say it's $50 per key phrase you can get to the first page per month. You know, what's $50 times 400? That's right, it's a little unrealistic. So that's, again, it sounds good, but that's likely not even real SEO you're signing up for. Conversion and home content. I won't get too much into conversion, but again, we're talking about the top mistakes. And we often see that the phone number is not visibly bold and big on the home page. And what's interesting about that is when we look at the analytics, most folks want to actually navigate past your home page. There's also more comparison shopping these days online. So they'll compare you against your competitor without going past the home page. They'll hit the back button. So think about that. For conversion, your home page is everything. And does it have really strong call to actions? In other words, do something. You have 2 seconds to convert. It's like walking into a store. You've usually made up your mind when you walk in whether you're going to buy something or not. It's the same with your homepage. We call it the 2-second rule, the 3-second rule. It's 2, 3, 4 seconds. But essentially, that's how much time you have to convince somebody to take the next step. Okay. So what I did too, I thought would be pretty engaging, is to just look at a few sites and maybe point out some improvements we could possibly make. These are Austin businesses, and maybe a few are here. Hint, hint. Okay, so we have NU, I'm not pronouncing that right, I'm sure, NU Systems Network Optimization. This is a great looking corporate site. Very clean, very polished. But what's interesting about it is I noticed in the header tag, the homepage meta title is the most important real estate of your website to tell search engine what you're about, your meta title. That will make or break your whole campaign. So notice importance is also always read from top down, left to right. So notice what's at the top there. Monitoring optimization. Well, maybe it has low search volume. So I don't know this business entirely, but maybe there's enough conversion there that if they convert a few folks, then it's well worth it. But what I noticed is there's very low search volume for monitoring optimization, and there's much higher search volume for other key phrases. So that's one thing you can notice is at the top what your competitors are optimizing for. That very first key phrase at the top is the #1 key phrase they're gunning for. You can see it in your browser whether you're using IE or Firefox. On this next site here, Cannon Aviation Group. Anybody want to buy a helicopter? We're not giving away any helicopters, okay. What do you guys notice about this? What suggestion would you make for this homepage so that we can start becoming visible?
Call to action.
Call to actions, yes. We could use some more call to actions, certainly. But from a search engine perspective, what are we completely missing here? Content, yes. It's rule of thumb. It's 350 to 400 words on your homepage. That will also make or break your campaign. Once in a while, we get caught up in the visual importance of the homepage, and that's just as important because it helps with conversion. What's above the fold, what's below the fold? Who cares? Typically what we do is we optimize the content to show up below the fold in a way that nobody scrolls down below the fold anyway. So you can keep the top very visually engaging to help with conversion. Blue Baker, baked from scratch. I'll mention conversion here because as a focal point, I'm not really sure what the focal point is. There's a lot going on. But what would you guys say about this site? Again, more content. We absolutely do not have enough content on this homepage. On top of that, it's not keyword saturated. In other words, key phrase saturated. So who cares if you have content on your homepage? If at a minimum, it doesn't specifically incorporate the key phrases you're gunning for in the content, you will have zero traction. It doesn't matter how much back-end work you're doing, how many backlinks you have, and everything else. Wet Salon, this is an awesome looking site. Yay! Okay, very, very, very pretty. I think this homepage, as an example, could use more content, but I like the way that content has kind of been woven in between graphics, which is really good. Videos are awesome for optimization, or for conversion. Videos always help with that. Next one, we have a wellness programs. As you can see, what's the key phrase they're gunning for? What's the top one? Wellness programs. Is that localized? No? Well, what's interesting is the site, if you look at their locations, Austin, Lakeway, San Antonio. So that's great for localization, authority. They are grounded. They have physically, they have the addresses of their locations. But I'm not sure how visible we are here because we start out with wellness programs, weight loss, and I'm not seeing any localization factors in there. We may have some towards the tail end, which are not seen on this title, so they may be in there. But wellness programs, we want to think about what the layman phrase is, how the layman would search. We may be able to improve that to be, for example, HCG or weight loss is the next one, weight loss again, so that's important. Everything else on this website actually is really stellar as far as cosmetically, visually. We rarely see this. A form on the home page for conversion always, typically for most businesses, does amazing. So think about that. Since most folks never navigate past your home page, think about incorporating a form on your home page. These guys did. And Girl Scouts of Central Texas, are they optimized? Nope. They want to be found for home. So if you have not optimized the site, that's what you're going to see at the top. So if you're curious if one of your competitors has optimized their site and there is no meta tag, it'll say home there. But obviously we have a great looking site, and by the sheer nature of it, it most likely is linked from many other sources out there. It just, the SEO process is likely not there. Omega Broadcast Group, video sales and rental. This is a great looking site. Very, very polished. And what would you guys say about that? Yeah, not localized. I'm not sure what was on the footer actually. I think maybe that may have been why this is here, is because it wasn't localized, and as well as what the focus is. But one of the things that's interesting about this is it's a great looking professional site, but it actually could use more content below the fold. Next we have a law firm. What's missing? Content. Yes. Lots and lots and lots of content. Localization? Physical address? Real company versus some other online spammy site? Social signals. Any links there? They don't have to tweet. They don't have to get likes. Who cares? But do we see any social signals there? Any links to their Facebook account? Because it's bidirectional. That boosts the signal. So if you have a link on your homepage that links to your Facebook account and your Facebook links back to your website, that increases the strength of that social signal to your site. All right, lastly, I think we have two more. Cabelli School. It's a Montessori school. I think it's a big school. I think they recently merged with another school. And this is just a great looking, very professional site. What's missing at the bottom? Yes, so at the bottom again, localization. It's not grounded. Needs to be grounded. I'm not sure really if this site was optimized or not, so I can't speak for that. Next sexy homepage. What do you guys think? What could be improved? So Escobedo, Escobedo, yes, that is the name. You know, if somebody's searching for your name, they already know who you are. And most likely if they're searching for your name or your company name, if something is drastically wrong, unless something is drastically wrong with your site, you're going to pop up number 1 anyway. So that, again, layman's terms, if we were optimizing this site, we would want to kick things off with perhaps, Austin liposuction facelifts and so forth. And that's not there. There's also not enough content. That Twitter feed right there, kind of helps. It's a signal. It's a social signal. That's good. Does it count as content? Not so much. We need some serious content on the site. All right, so question. What are the 2 ways the age of a domain name can be an important ranking factor? It's one of 100 factors. You guys know how many?
Age and how long it's registered for.
Age and how long it's registered for. Love it. That's a good answer. You, sir, will get a gift card. In addition to that, how, and I may have a card for this as well. This comes up a lot. When is it a helpful factor for how old your domain name is? When it's how many years old?
7.
7?
Yeah.
Great answer. Yeah, it seems to be hovering around that number. It used to be, 3-4 years. With so many websites and so many more websites aging now, that number has actually increased and doesn't really help at all to have keywords in your domain names unless they are very, very, very old and you are an established authority on the subject. Otherwise, doesn't help. So I remember a very, very disappointing conversation when a gentleman had purchased about 150 domains, all with keywords in them. And I said, "Well, sir, how old are those domain names? You just purchased 150 of them." He said, "Oh, about 2 months old." Okay, sell them all back. So great answer. All right, so let's talk about a complete search engine marketing strategy, which I've been hinting at. What does that include? It includes being an authority. It includes doing SEO. It includes doing pay-per-click for a complete strategy. Should you do one or the other, SEO or PPC or both? Both. Both. I like that answer. That's a great answer. There's only so much real estate at the top of the homepage. So maybe you are ranked first. Well, depending on how many ads there are at the top, that's real estate lost. What's really interesting about pay-per-click is how many of you knew that your pay-per-click quality score and performance is also heavily based on the SEO and optimization of your website. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay? Landing page, relevancy. Pay-per-click now is increasingly being weighted based on the relevancy. Again, improving user experience and rewarding you for it. The relevancy of the page it's landing on and how optimized that is, what the page rank of it is, and the content that's on that page. It affects your quality score in pay-per-click, which affects your cost per click. Mobile. Social and mobile. We already talked about this. So these are really the main areas. For maximizing your exposure, you want to be set up on Google Places. There's a URL in Google Places, again, that links back to your site. Other than that, it's just a map out there. Doesn't really help too much. Conversion. I already mentioned this. Videos help. I won't talk too much about conversion. All right, so are you ready for mobile? A little bit more about mobile, a few statistics. 25% of mobile internet users are using the internet only via their mobile phones. So how often do you find yourself sitting in front of your computer and you're still whipping out your phone or your iPad to look at something? It's almost become human nature. So think about that if your site's being looked for. I won't go over the other items. Fun fact, in Egypt it's an astonishing 70%. I guess it's just camels and iPad in one hand and iPhone in the other. I don't know why that is. Okay, SEO versus pay-per-click. How many of you are doing both SEO and pay-per-click at this time? 25%? Okay. And do you often wonder, which one should I be doing, which one is going to convert better, and so forth? So what's interesting is obviously the ROI is better for SEO almost hands down, any given time, for any type of business or vertical. But it's not instant gratification. You want results. They don't happen within a month, and it may be frustrating because at that point you're not sure about your ongoing digital strategy. With pay-per-click, it's instant gratification. You can get results within a week, but it's going to cost you. And when somebody clicks through and you get charged for it, you have nothing to show for your money. It's gone. Although it may have converted. But again, you're not building equity in your site. So it's just two different models. They both have their benefits and disadvantages. For pay-per-click, you're not really building equity. For SEO, it may take a couple months. It may take 3 months. It may take 4 months to get great results. But you're building equity in the site. And everything you're building into your site, you get to keep. And you're also laying down the groundwork to put the stake in the ground to have more authority on what it is you do. So the sooner the better. It's much harder the later you're getting into the game. So what this demonstrates is that obviously this is very much what organic performance does. Now that we know the mechanics of Google, how often you're being cached and visited, not a whole lot happens in the first month, if anything. But then as another month progresses and so forth, more time progresses, the ROI really increases on that. So top pay-per-click mistakes. So this is for pay-per-click. No weekly optimization. If you are managing your pay-per-click or you have somebody managing your pay-per-click account for you, how often is it being updated? Kind of similar to SEO, you have to update and optimize your pay-per-click much more often now. So what does that entail? It includes disabling keywords that aren't performing well, adding new keywords to the mix, A/B ad testing, disabling ads that aren't doing well, disabling key phrases that cost too darn much, and so forth. Improving the landing pages that your pay-per-click goes to. So what we most often find, again, the biggest issue we see with pay-per-click not having a minimum spend is unless you're continuing to optimize it day to day, week to week, suddenly a month or two down the road you haven't had enough clicks to turn into revenue, to turn into conversions, and then suddenly you're out that amount of spend. So what we do for that is we really take a look at the competition. There's tools out there, and they will actually, many of those tools will tell you, can give you insight as to how much spend your competitor is doing. How many of you guys knew that? One of you, two of you? Okay. Would you guys like to look up how much your competitor is spending in pay-per-click? You would? You would? You would? You would? You would? Okay. And this is not in the black book of secrets that we have. I'll give you one of them. You can also find many more utilities if you go to findmycompany.com/learn.html. findmycompany.com/learn.html. So one of those utilities is called keywordspy.com. Works half the time if you want to know how much your competitor is spending and what key phrases they're gunning for and what their ads look like. Okay, so no negative keywords. How many of you guys have free services and products? No one. Okay. That's what I expected, right? A negative key phrase is a list of key phrases you can add in the settings of your pay-per-click account to say, if the search includes this term, it's called a what do I call it here? Negative keyword. Then your ad won't show up, so you don't waste money. You don't blow through spend and click-throughs. So for example, one of those good key phrases could be free. And then your ad doesn't show up when somebody searched for example, free Austin helicopters. Yeah, you don't want your ad to show up. You're not giving away free helicopters. I mean, I hope not. So, budget too low, landing pages, and we've covered those topics. Most importantly, how many of you are familiar with the two different Google pay-per-click networks? 3 of you. Okay. This gentleman knows a lot. You are as well. Okay. The display network is when you serve graphics on related sites such as blogs, forums, and so forth that folks can click through on that will take them back to your site. And it's dirt cheap. Again, I repeat, it's dirt cheap compared to the search network, which everyone is doing. All of your competitors are doing the search network too. So let's do the math on this. Let's say you are an Austin salon, and there are 100 other salons doing pay-per-click. What's that doing? It's only driving up the price. It's essentially just a bidding war. So you can only expect the price to go up and your budget to increase as you have more competitors. More people are doing pay-per-click. More people are doing SEO. So what we found is we're now seeing some of the best results in the content network, which most folks are not familiar with how to optimize or even set up. We're actually seeing on many accounts there be just as much conversion or more conversion for a fraction of the overall spend amount. So that's coming from the content network. This is an example here. You don't have a whole lot of flexibility with it, but you can choose sort of what vertical your graphic ads will be displayed on. And it'll serve that on sites that are related, blogs, forums, other websites, anybody doing AdSense, and so forth. And then the remarketing part of that. How many of you have noticed that you seem to have an ad that maybe follows you? If you've just been kind of, yes, Matt is kind of following you around and creeping you out, and you're like, man, how's that happening? So that's called remarketing. It's something that we pretty much just almost flip a switch on. It's a little more than that. There's actually conversion code associated to it, additional code, and so forth. But what that does, and we've been seeing phenomenal results from that as well, is that if somebody doesn't convert the first time, they're not likely to come back. So if you're flashing it in front of them again, essentially what remarketing does is it drops a cookie and it says, well, this person has visited your site before, so I'm going to kind of follow them around and keep on, showing your graphic. Works great. That's called remarketing. Why is there a different number of PPC ads for different keyword searches at the top of the home page? Lots of reasons. That's correct. That's a great answer. You notice on very few searches there might be none. Again, how does Google make its money? The more ads you see, the more popular it is, and the more it costs. So when you see 3 or 4 ads at the most, that means it's going to cost you more money. It means more people are bidding on that same key phrase. So the more ads you see there, the more popular it is. Because what Google figures is, if this is a high volume term, I'm going to go ahead and reserve more space for it. So at least not every search you do has 3 or 4 ads showing at the top, but only a few do. Matt Cutts is actually now works with Google. And he had a lot to do with the quality of Google as well in earlier days for overall relevancy and helping improve your user experience. But he was answering this question, is SEO going to be around in the next 5 years? So one of the things he says is, in a way, think of your website as a resume. It's really doing everything else and playing the game. So, if you think about your website now as a resume, again, social profiles, local signals, content, everything else, yours has to stand out. So, quick little boot camp. SEO and how we start off. One of the first things we do is on-page optimization. What does on-page optimization means? It doesn't mean slapping keywords on your homepage. That's the opposite of on-page optimization. On-page optimization means that your website is evaluated and graded for just as much for what it has internally than it does externally. What that means is all of your pages have to be optimized, and Google starts the only place it can when it hits your IP address. And where is that? The home page. What does it do after that? It visits the subpages. Then it looks at your inner linking. You can actually optimize the inner linking of your site by optimizing the menu and all of your pages. That tells Google how well you're optimized. In other words, your menu behind the scenes, there is code that is optimized, which also communicates what your subpages are about. Okay? And the relevancy of the content that's on all of those sub-pages. That's what we call on-page optimization. There are many factors that go into that. Content ninjas. We've already talked a lot about content. And one last note I'll make on that is organic content is actually the opposite of what you may think. It's actually in any given page of content, you only want to perhaps mention phrases a few times. Otherwise, it's not human. It's not human content. And Google picks up on that. So if you're selling helicopters, in that body of content on your homepage, you would not want to mention Austin helicopter sales or helicopter sales 20 times. You'll actually be penalized for it. It'll work against you. Every page at attention. Duplicate content. Next, we promised a lot of steps you can take to make some changes to your site. And one of those will help with content. Do any of you know, I'm just curious, how to check for duplicate content? Because you're penalized for duplicate content. You're completely penalized for duplicate content. If you've copied somebody else's content, you will be penalized. You just won't know it. And there's ways to check. On top of that, you can even see what specific content or words were copied. All right, so what can we do? What can you do? Keyword research. A great way to start out. This is a free utility. Google can actually help you with this. It's just a good way to get started. I mentioned layman terms earlier, just to get in that mindset of how is everybody looking for your services or products. Okay, you can Google Keyword Estimator. Again, you can actually find several of these utilities on our page. /learn.html if you don't want to write each one of these down on your notepad. The second one is checking backlinks. I'm not sure if this one is even working anymore. We have a lot of paid utilities. There's also a lot of free utilities online. Some of them work much, much, much better than others. Most of them won't be able to give you a good insight of what the quality of those backlinks are, so it may just be a number. But it's a good point of reference. If you have a competitor that, say, has none, they have not done SEO. If they have more than, say, 100 or a couple hundred, they probably were engaging in an SEO process of some sort which helped them acquire backlinks. So the next item here is check PageRank. It's just nice to know. You can know what the page rank of your competitors are as well. It's not indicative of your SEO prowess by any means, nor is it going to tell you what they're ranking for, how well they're doing, or any of that. It's just nice to know because it's also nice to know how often you're being visited by Google. It's free. On your Google toolbar, if you don't see it, you may just want to go enable it. If you can't find it in the settings, just reinstall your Google toolbar. And it'll ask you, do you want to see the page rank? Heck yeah. Everything's page ranked from 0 to 10. Who's a 10? Google. Who's an 8 or a 9? Facebook. Those sites, which means they're getting visited daily because of their clout. They're so freaking massive. Most business websites, small or large, Walmart, I don't know, it's probably a PR6, but most are between a PR0 and a PR5. So it's just kind of nice to know. The reason that's also significant is because when you're starting or doing an SEO process, it's also indicative of how quick the traction is going to be. It can be the difference between 2 months of awesome first page results or 4 months. So if we're starting at ground zero, PR0, it takes much longer. If we're starting with a PR3 or a PR4, we can get noticed much quicker for all the work we've placed out there. And that could be the difference of having key phrases on the first page within a few months. Next is checking your competitor's traffic. Are you curious how much traffic your competitor is getting? No? Okay. The pizza's setting in, carb crashing. Okay. So if you are, compete.com. Granted, keep in mind here, if you actually have to have probably about 500 to 1,000 hits per month. If you don't have that minimum, it's just going to show 0, which is good. If you see your competitor does not have at least that much, then I guess that's good news. But you can get that information and see roughly how many unique visitors they are getting to their site. It's really cool to look at some of the big boys too, see how much overall traffic they're getting. SEO browser, this is super helpful. If you'd like to see what your homepage looks like to a search engine, we often find that there may be coding issues and things like that are making your homepage not even crawlable by a search engine. So there's utilities like this and many more like it. You can plug in your URL, and it will show you character by character how the home page of your website, which carries the most weight of any other pages on your site, is being read. So more things you can do right now. Looking for more things you can just walk away with. Google Plus. How many of you have set up a Google Plus account? Several of you. Okay, that's great. Set it up now. Everything we're talking about here has been revolving around authority and age. And even if you never make a post, the longer you have it, the better. Set it up. Do a couple posts that link back to your site. Facebook/me. What does that mean? It means a custom URL. How many of you guys have customized and reserved the URL? Some of you have? Well, it sucks if somebody else takes it, because then it makes it really hard to get that back. So just make sure that there's an option there to customize your Facebook URL so that you reserve it for your business name, because if you haven't, anybody else can. LinkedIn. Did you guys know that LinkedIn does the same? You can reserve a custom URL. That's a good signal for authority of your website. You can actually get a custom URL which matches your company name. And we haven't heard from them yet, but we have Whole Foods. So we're waiting. I'll give it up, I'm sure. But we, as an example, we actually have LinkedIn.com Whole Foods. So I'll expect a call any day now. Twitter. Same thing there. We talked about the URL. In the profile, you can link it back to your website. The 611 South Congress, that's actually our main office address. The relevancy of that is to physically place the address at the footer of your site, which it will increase your authority. Even if you're not necessarily sure how that's best optimized, adding it is a start. Writing content, we talked about that already, and if all that is overwhelming, because those are a few factors of 100 to 200 ranking factors, then there's always the next step of working with somebody as well for the SEO process. reputation management. It's about protecting your online image, your reputation. And there is a very process-oriented way to do that. It doesn't involve trying to give yourself better reviews and so forth. It has to be an organic process as well. So reputation management. This came to the forefront of our attention in the past year when we had a lot of clients saying, hey, I got a bad Google review, what can you do about it? Hey, I'm on Yelp, what can you do about it? Can you erase it? Do you work with Google? No. I'm sorry, that's not the answer. We cannot. And no matter how many times you try to submit a ticket to ask Google to do it, that doesn't work either. Interestingly enough, there was a feature that is actually now currently broken. And it allows you to reply to a bad review, to say, for example, this is a disgruntled employee, this is just a competitor review, and you say you can't do that now. It's just you have to live with it, unfortunately. So the process of reputation management involves pushing everything down or suppressing a bad review that may pop up when somebody searches for your name or your company name. Now, the reason our company actually got involved with this is because we very, very quickly found that there were reputation management processes out there, or lack of, that were actually hurting SEO. Reputation management needs to be done away from your website. In other words, when you do reputation management, it shouldn't link back to your site. That's bad reputation management. So there's a process to follow for reputation management in which you leverage social accounts to get them to push down any negativity, whether that negativity be warranted or not. I'll share this on a personal note. In the past, we had one bad review, and it was actually from a competitor. And unfortunately, we couldn't do anything about it, so we had to live with that. But what we can do is, with reputation management, we can actually absolutely filter that out and push it off of the page. It's also the law of numbers. The bigger your company gets, 1 out of 100, you may have an upset employee. It's going to happen. It does happen. And now it's happening every day because all of the sites out there, Yelp and Google Places and a number of others, have become a sounding board to leave you a bad review. When just 6 months ago, the average person wasn't even logging into their Google account that much. So what's fundamentally changed is that now everybody is more used to logging into their Google account, for example. They can leave a Google review, and that gives them a platform to say something, unfortunately. So it's funny to use that as an example. If you look at a hosting company like GoDaddy or something, well, personally, they may not have the best hosting service, but I think their support's awesome. You can always talk to someone. But what's funny is they have 600 negative reviews, and that's just for one of their listings, because it's the law of numbers. It will likely happen. So what can we do about it? And how do we start out? So we answered the question what it is, and how it should not affect your SEO. So the process of reputation management is really the secret sauce, is interlinking a lot of social accounts done properly, which will suppress everything out there. And I'll show you an example of what that looks like. The way that is done is we create a lot of social profiles out there in addition to what you already have. So we likely won't be completely working on your Facebook account, your Twitter account, and whatnot. We're actually creating a lot of additional social profiles out there, amongst other local
profiles that we have in our arsenal. And when those are all interlinked properly, meaning that those links contain key phrases in them that are associated to your name or your business name, suddenly they start to suppress all the bad reviews out there. And we've seen really good results out there because we have done one, I will show one as an example, in which case it's the highest ranked bad review site out there. It's ripoffreport.com. And they've been, pursued and sued several times, but they essentially will never remove a review. So very unfortunately, you have to do what you can to suppress it. And that includes Yelp. I've gotten a lot of questions about Yelp. What can you do about Yelp? There's nothing you can do, but you can bury it, and that's reputation management. So next is just a kind of a case study of a client of ours and what we were able to do within a month and a half, almost 2 months. Ripoffreport.com, again, one of the highest ranked sites. We were able to suppress it to the bottom of the first page within a couple months, and it's pretty awesome. Next, I want to talk a little bit about our process. I'm going to actually fly through this because I really want to get to answer all your questions. So the way we start out, and the way we suggest starting out, is first to evaluate the site. Hopefully we've given you some of those tools. Evaluate what keywords are being searched for, how you're being searched for. Next, we like to reveal. So in other words, it doesn't help to have any kind of cryptic automated report of what your before and after results are. Whatever it is you're locking in as far as your key phrases, you need to be able to month compare what the results are. And this shows that this is actually one of our SEO reports, and it basically just shows month to month what that progress looks like. This is to actually show what an evaluation looks like. This is really helpful. We see a lot of canned automated software reports out there that don't really help. It's not human run. They don't show you how you measure up, how you stack up against a competitor, because again, it's quantitative. So in this eval example, this is what our eval looks like. We look at the 4 main areas. Your optimization strength, we actually evaluate the code on your site. We take a look to see how all of your pages are doing. Content strength, how much you have, if it's good content or not. Backlink strength, how much backbone you have. That's pretty much every site out there. Not much backbone. And domain name strength. Domain name strength is going to be page rank, localization, how well you're grounded. This is some of the research we do. We want to start off with a strong recommendation of who is best going to find you and what some of the broad searches are related. How many folks are searching for that in a given month. Then next we look at an example. As you can see, this example is surf travel. But what you may notice, and you won't see this on your browser unless you have the software, is that we're also showing page rank, age of the website, and backlinks, backbone, popularity. So it's kind of, taking a peek into how much backbone and work your competitors have done. This is just for one key phrase, but we really take a look across the board. And finally, this is kind of a graphic representation of backlinks as far as popularity goes. Obviously, the more quality backlinks you have, the better. And it's called an anchor tag. If you just have links out there to your site, that's called a junk link. Junk links. They will devalue your website, even help penalize your website. And then it takes twice as much work to counteract that. So the more the better, and they have to be quality backlinks. We like to compare side by side. So this is something really cool we do, because if you have somebody in mind that most often you do, somebody you're gunning for, that guy, I always see him at the top. I want to know how I measure up against him. You really want to be able to side by side measure these 4 different areas. One thing I want to mention real quick, the importance of Google Places and some of the problems Google Places has been having. In our cheat sheet, we actually answer a few of these questions, but what I want to address is what it is. Have any of you noticed review problems with your Google Places? Using us again as an example, what's really entertaining is that we had 38 perfect reviews, It happened to hit us on the week that this bug, and it still is a problem, it still doesn't work properly. Now we know how to properly merge and move locations, and we just noted down the details on that. You have to do it a certain way, but basically essentially what happens is if you ever move, the way Google Places retains your reviews and keeps your authority is bugged. So if you don't take the right steps to change your Google Places location, address information, yeah, you're smiling, it happened to you, yeah, you'll likely lose your reviews, and that's more important because you may drop and lose a lot of your authority, which may in turn affect your positions and your rankings.